Thank you, Heavenly Father, for the freedoms we enjoy as Americans, and thank you for our friendships and our families. Thank you mostly for your Son, who reconciled us to you through his sacrifice on the cross. In his name we pray.
All my rowdy friends are Christians now. A testimony podcast.
Hi, everybody. It's Norm, your host. We rejoin Theo Hansen on part 2 of his wild story. This takes place after he and his wife, Kim, spent $3.9 million to purchase a cancer victim sanctuary in Costa Rica, where they were treating and educating cancer patients with holistic alternatives, and of course, love and sharing the gospel. And just like the rest of us, at that point in time, 2019, our lives were turned upside down by the pandemic.
Then COVID hit, and we're like, what? Like, you just shut down California? You can't do that. And Costa Rica calls and says, we're closing the country. And like, when? Like about 15 minutes ago. Like, what are we doing? Like, the last flights are on Saturday. I was like, all right. Kim was already back in the States. And I said, well, you either fly to Nicaragua and I'll cross the border and sneak you back legally, or I got to come back to you, and I don't really want to come back to the States. I don't know if you remember, but then I had long hair and I hadn't worn a pair of shoes in a couple of months or years. Cancer Jesus.
Right. Going back to when I introduced you, this is this guy. Like, his wife gets cancer, they beat it, and then he's trying to help other people with cancer, and they eventually monetize it. So it's like he's not just a guy who works, construction or whatever. It's like he takes what life gives him and makes like ultra lemonade.
Yeah, bro. There's a lot of great studies on personalities and experiences, and we talk about like love languages and stuff like that. And your love language is your unmet needs and your hurts and your wants from childhood experiences and maybe a couple of traumatic events. So for me, man, I'm always I think they call that the archetype magician. You see a problem, I see an opportunity for solution.
There you go.
So I'm like, let's go, man. And so yeah, we wouldn't charge. I wouldn't even accept $1 from anybody until late in 2018, around August. A gentleman said, I want to hire you. I've spent money all over the place. You know more than anyone I've ever talked to. And I was like, well, that feels good, but that's not possible. And so I gave him a number, and he said yes. And he just kept saying yes month after month. I was like, bro, you don't have to pay me this much money. It was actually kind of a joke. I didn't think anybody would ever do that. I mean, it was a good amount of money. And he was like, no way, you're like my security blanket, man. I want to keep re-up. And I'm like, well, I want to get to Costa Rica, so I got to go. But I learned a lot from that. God used that gentleman to really teach me a lot about kind of mind-body medicine, and just the idea that we're a soul, a body, a spirit, and a mind. Like, I'm trying to make sense of the world around me, but who I am, I always was. God knew me before he knit me in my mother's womb. He knew you before he knit you in your mother's womb, and he's known you your whole life and all your days. But we're always trying to make sense of the world that we live in, right? And Paul in Romans is talking about to constantly be renovating the thinking in the mind, and we have these two minds. We have gnosis and epignosis. So we began to realize that there was disease in the United States is in part caused by fractured multi-generational families and the pursuit of all this crap, and then invasion in the food system, and the world's hostile. And when we don't know what our purpose is, we're far more susceptible to diseases flaring up, and then more diseases, and we overeat, and we don't eat enough of the right stuff. And so all that was well underway, but it would be late August of 18 before I would ever spend any money. And then we opened a clinic, and I said it is the least expensive 3 weeks anywhere in the world, and the price matched the second most affordable place, but we only saw patients 5 at a time. That place was seeing 200 at a time, and it wasn't specialized medicine, and we were offering kind of a fixed idea of what we wanted to demonstrate. So our study was to show the role of diet and lifestyle interventions in the treatment of cancer. And so we looked at a variety of scenarios, and we were able to demonstrate that there's a huge place. We were also we were working out the mind-body component that we'd been working on since I learned that so much from that gentleman in August of 18. We had developed a mind-body program that I've been really grateful for, and I really think that fits the Christian life super well, which is that the first divine institution is really self. We're responsible for what we do. I don't get to blame Kim. I don't stand at the big seat and go, well, geez, Jesus, I mean, you gave me Kim. It's, if you didn't like what I got done, it's her fault. I don't get to do that, right? I'm going to be judged. My life's going to go into the fire like Haywood and stubble. And brother, it's going to be a bonfire. And it's going to be epic. And a little bit of crowns and golds going to come out the other side. Hopefully more. But I'm looking forward to Jesus saying, well done, my good and faithful servant. And I live for that. You know, I really, really, really live for that. We've held that. So we definitely tried to do what we could. And I don't even want to admit how many scholarships we gave out. How many people we helped that couldn't pay. And I'm glad for that. And I'm really thankful. But there's just stories, right? I always had value. And today I still do. Post cleanup after a big accident and some brain injury, I've been back and helping patients to get through this journey and make the right decisions and tie into the right medicine and take advantage of every tool that's available so that they can live a long, beautiful life. You know, they don't have to live a story. They can go find the answer and live a rewarding life on the other side of a diagnosis.
Well, the cool thing is that you guys were sharing the gospel when the people came out to Costa Rica as well. So these people are helping us. We hardly have to pay anything. I'm in Costa Rica, and it's like, and it could have been for some of them their last hope, not to die. Even if they did die, if you share the gospel with them, they die unto life anyway. So,
like Kim said, we all got an expiration date. We got to stop being afraid of dying. That's crap.
Yeah.
Well, the idea is like, what's the lesson? What's the lesson that your body's trying to tell you? What's the lesson? Is it time to make some changes in life? And like again, for Kim and I, man, our vocabulary, our ability to give words and a voice to different parts of our experiences. Like, I mean, it's just in our household, it's a bit funny. If we get a little nasty or tight with one another over something, 2 minutes later they want to walk back in. Hey, look, the story I was telling myself was blah, 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 blah. And we go right to the origin of what was happening so that the other person can understand and that it's not personal. It wasn't, she didn't do anything wrong. I was in a bad place and I was acting out, right? And so, or vice versa. And it's just so enlightening to see how different we are and where we came from, but how we can coexist and be a blessing to each other. It's so much better than being at odds with each other, playing out these sort of unmet needs and hurts on each other. Like, look, you got to be happy with you. Kim can't be my source of happiness. So once I get solid there, then she's just a blessing. She can't take away from it either, because if she's having a bad day, she needs to be allowed to have a bad day. The story can't be, Mom ain't happy, nobody can be happy.
You have a way of communicating that's healthier.
Yeah, that came from cancer. That's the same thing that we got to share with others and continue to share is like, look, you're responsible for yourself. If you ain't happy, it's not somebody else that's going to make you happy, right? And so we got to find out where the source of pain comes from, where the dissatisfaction or the triggers are, right? You're all happy and then boom, you work for a big company. That's not a place of pure joy and ecstasy, right? That's not comedy. It's like Comedy Central. There's moments and things happen, you get triggered. And why'd you get triggered, right? It's usually because of something, fellow employee being disrespectful, or employer or manager, or, there's the stories that we have about that someone doesn't realize, they're not seeing the sacrifice or the investment we've made or the contribution. And so then we're upset. We can change that story. Where's that story coming from? So I have a lot of stories, more than most, about not being qualified. And I remember when I bought the clinic, for $3.9 million in Costa Rica, I was standing there and I was like, man, we're going to do it. Easiest purchase I've ever made. And I just heard, who do you think you are? And I was like, what was that? I was like, man, that's a weird voice. Where's that coming from? And I just instantly, what story am I telling myself? Man, I remember riding in the car the first night that my stepdad's sons came to live with us. And we're just having fun, man. At the time, we're just kids. We're all excited. Oh, we got new friends, man. We're going to be best friends, man. We're stepbrothers. We're going to be friends. It's going to be amazing. It's awesome. Hey, Theo, what do you want to do when you grow up? I'm like, man, I want to be a doctor. They're like, oh, man, how many years of school do you have to go for that? I'm like, hey, John, how many years do I have to go to school to be a doctor? Who do you think you are?
Uh-oh.
Who do you think you are? You're going to be a doctor? You're not going to be a doctor. That takes years and years of college. Who's going to pay for that education? And you're not going to. I was like, well, okay. Man, talk about the story am I telling myself? So I just was like, yeah, I'm ready to let that one go. John's wrong. I think I'm the exact right person. I think I love Jesus. I think I love people. I think I can be compassionate. I think I have an incredible sense of empathy because of all that abuse. I think I know what it's like to be down and out and scared. I think I know what it's like to be angry. I think I know what it's like to be frustrated. Yeah, I think I'm the exact right person. I think I'm the only person that has the skill set to pull this one off and move the science a little farther down the ice so that we can educate more practitioners practitioners and more people. There's a better way to treat disease. Yeah, so
There's
it's really
such
funny. It starts out.
It's such an important thing to have like a strong male figure in your life. And those of us who didn't, we are screwed. It's like such a long bridge to cross if you don't have somebody holding your hand across it. And Kim's sons and your son are so lucky that you at least were halfway there, and that you supported them. If nothing else you've ever done, that's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Life can have whatever it has. Like, you want to judge me? Look at my boys and the wives they picked, the children that they brought into this world. Look at who goes to church, man. All my kids go to church.
Yep.
Their wives love church. Our grandchildren, I got 9 of them, they love church. Kim loves God. I love God. Like, look, just judge me on that. I don't care about the rest. Like, I don't care about, Star Mark or Trimarks and Mercedes, and I don't care about fast cars and big money. And judge me on that. And based on that, I win.
Right.
Like, that's my legacy. I win.
All right, let's keep on moving. You had to escape Costa Rica, and you did.
I was forced to. My wife said, "Get back here or else." And I was like, "Okay."
And you lived through COVID like the rest of us. You were probably a lot more outspoken than most of us because of the knowledge you had of it, and agree with you 100% on all the ridiculous things that we had to go through. Let's move up to January 6th. And tell me what happened to you that day and afterwards.
Yeah, I think that real fast. It's just look. Governor Newsom was a handful. We went out and we said no to the 10 o'clock thing, and I'm just that guy, man. Look, I'm still rowdy. I found a letter from ACLU that allowed BLM to continue to have a protest the next day after a violent night. And so I just twisted the language a little bit and dropped it off to all the police departments that we were going to protest at. And they were, and I actually literally emailed the ACLU lawyer and thanked him. And he was super upset. He was like, "That's not what I intended the letter to be for." And I was like, "Yeah, but it's so awesome."
What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yeah, I rubbed his nose so far up his own butt. It was great, man. But I like that. I'm rowdy. And so Kim's even rowdier. I'll tell you right now. Kim's 100 pounds of whoop ass. And so she's like, we got to protest or whatever. So then comes along, the amazing Donald Trump. And bro, I just wasn't there, man. In 2016, I felt like he was being foisted on us. And somehow in my imaginary mind, I thought we were about to see Sanders, square off with Cruz. And we were either going to have a republic or we were going for socialism. I thought that's where it was at. Like, oh no, you gotta vote in any select person that can beat the Wicked Witch of the East. I'm like, they're buds. How do buds kick buds' ass? Like, shut up, man. This is dumb. So I said no. And I got scotched. I said, I'm not doing it. And I voted for a different candidate, obviously not on the liberal side of insanity. So I went independent and I left the Republican Party, right? So then you fast forward to 2020, election kicks off and I'm like, hey, did anybody else see that completely unbelievable thing that happened overnight?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. And then all this, and we just all saw it. Everywhere you looked, there was chicanery. There was no good. And so everyone's like, we're going to protest. Join us. And I was like, look, I'm not a follower. B, you ain't going to make much change out there. And so they decided they were doing that Stop the Steal tour. And I get a phone call saying, hey, we need somebody for security. We got the health freedom fighters to speak. And I'm like, who's all there? So they told me it was there. And I was like, yeah, where's our hotel? I forget the name of it. So it's right around the corner. And the stage was on Black Lives Matter Square, which was hysterical. I was like, the irony. And I said, I don't know. And then, we've been tracking with Antifa for a long time. And I don't know if you remember, but in May of 2020, they burned down Chase Bank and Union Bank and tried to light the police department on fire.
Yeah, I remember.
So we've been confronting them nonstop without being violent. We just show up, rednecks and all, from East County. We show up 250, 300 people, and they'd all run like little scared kitty cats they are. And they jump back in their bus and, there's a bunch of rednecks. So they said, like, hey, Antifa's going to jump. They're going to cause problems and jump all these Trump fans. And I was like, oh, man, this is going to be bad. And then my oldest son's mother-in-law was like, oh, I'm going, I'm going to be there. I was like, oh, Lordy, I'm going. All right. So last minute, booked a ticket. went for bear, dude. Loaded up a big, huge suitcase with 2 AR-15 pistols, pounds of ammunition is all you're allowed to transport. So I measured it out exactly. Put a couple extra handguns in there and a pack out gear, plate carrier, front and rear, and put it all together. And Kim's like, "Are you sure it's a good idea?" And I was like, "It's a great idea, honey." Because again, I'm a bit rowdy, but then I mean, like so then the Holy Spirit's just beating on me. So I look up, and it turns out it's a felony to carry a firearm into Washington, D.C., not into just to the city. If you pack one on an airplane and that's your destination, and then you're turning around and going home, you just committed a felony just transporting the firearm. And I was like, damn. I got to go fight those guys knuckle to knuckle. Man, this sucks. So I headed off bare-knuckled with no real weapons of mass destruction or anything. I ran security. It was great, dude. It was the best experience on the 5th, man. It was amazing. Morning of the 6th, they're like, "Hey, you want to go here and speak? You want to get front close to the stage?" I was like, "No. I don't. He's just going to say the same stupid stuff he does. That's boring. And why in the world would you be sitting with, like, I don't know, 200,000 people that have all been checked for firearms? Like, nobody's got a defensive weapon." Yeah, if I was looking to create some mayhem, I'd throw a grenade, like a smoke grenade into that and watch people trample each other. So I convinced them to back out and stay where we'd have a good exit path, and we stayed up by the monument. That was amazing. A sea of people. Everybody was so happy and nice and not angry. And it was great. And he said, like, go down there and lawfully, peacefully let your voices be heard. And I was like, all right, that didn't kill me. My ears aren't bleeding. And so this goes, Bud says, "Bud, like, you want to go down with it?" "I don't want to go to Capitol." "Oh, you should. Come on. We'll stop on the way and look at all the museums." "Okay." So we stopped and checked out some museums on the way. It was my first time ever in D.C. We get over to the lawn, and there's no barricades. Officers are just like, "Hey, nobody's saying you can't be here." We walk up to where the chairs are stacked, and the stage is still stacked, and there's a big, huge piece of equipment. I'm like, "What's going on, man?" The scaffolding's all up, and I'm standing there with a off-duty police officer, my son's mother-in-law, and a school teacher, and then I'm like, "What was that?" And I start smelling. I look at the off-duty officer. He goes, "Yeah, pepper balls." I look up, and there's an officer shooting us. And I look at him. I just put my arms up. "What are you doing?" And he just hones in and just sends him. And I'm like, I feel like it's Matrix. I'm like, just barely getting this to them. We scoot the women up to the chairs, stack of chairs for cover. And about that time, they push the guy off the balcony. And I watch him fall 35 feet. Boom, snap. He's obviously busted and broken. So I just look at them and look at the officer, and he goes, "I can't." So I just start running, whoosh, making my way to that guy. And before I could get there, another Capitol police officer slides in, hunkers down, covers them to protect them, and EMT's on their way. And I'm like, all right. And by then, the rush is on. So I spin up, go around, turn on a body cam, turn on my phone, and I go up to the left-hand side of all that scaffolding, and there's a set of doors wide open. There's a gangplank built for coming inauguration of Sleepy Joe, and then there's just thousands going in the doors. And I walk up to 5 officers in riot gear holding another exterior door. I go, "Hey, what's going on? You're just letting everybody in, and you're holding this door?" And one guy shrugged his shoulders and just kind of shook his head. And so I walk over and I turn in. Everyone's going right. I go left. I walk to 2 officers. I'm like, "What's going on?" They're like, "I don't know. We lost control of the building." I'm like, "What?" And this stuff that makes sense. And then there's like, we hear some noise. We go running after it, and there's a bunch of retards using bear spray against officers, and officers using spray back, and they're trying to close the doors in the rotunda. And so people are putting ashtrays underneath there, and there's just water everywhere. The officers have been rinsing their eyes out and stuff. And I just pushed the guys out of the way, and I kicked the ashtrays out of the way. I'm like, "Guys, they got sidearms. If you keep chasing them and they're incapacitated, you're going to make them shoot you. Like, you're stupid." And then, somebody grabs me and they're like, "Oh, you're a traitor." And I was like, "What? No, what?" And then some other girl starts screaming, "We're better than this." And her and I clean up for about 10 minutes. We mop up the floor, get all the trash and the water off the side. And I go to head up the stairs, and I want to get out of there. And man, around the double back stairs, and this officer rotates this huge, I think it has 8 rounds of mortar firing in them for canisters, and he's points that thing at me. I'm like, I'm like, don't go up there. And they're like, let's go downstairs. I'm like, no, I want to get out of here. So we're trying to find our way out, and we finally get to this room, and these officers are keeping the doors closed. The doors are broken, and people are trying to come in. And I said, hey, man, we got to get people out. There's no other way out. They closed all the other doors. He goes, I don't care, man. I got an officer outside right there, and I'm not opening these doors. And I said, I'll make you a deal. I'll get your officer. I'll get it back in here, and then you and I will work together to get these people out. He goes, okay. So boom, doors bust open. I'm like, make a hole, boom, boom, throwing punches, grab the officer, drag him in, get him in, close the doors. And he's pretty beat up. He's a little worked, a little doughboy, and I get him some water, and I'm like, hey, go upstairs. Because the officer's upstairs. Go upstairs. And so they get him upstairs, and it's kind of going on. So I'm like, hey, we got to get people out. And he's like, I'm not opening the doors. I'm like, you and I had an agreement. And he's like, I don't care. Well, it's like, I don't care either. We have an agreement. It's an agreement. So I burst the doors open, and I get some people out, and then we close the doors, and the two officers swap sides. And so the blonde-haired officer and I are now going to be a duo. He's like, I'll work with you. I appreciate you doing that. I said, great, let's do that. And a few minutes in, it's just getting stupid. You watch the videos, and I'm just like, man, I want to get out of here. Ain't much happening. And an officer grabs me and starts to try to throw me to the ground. I'm trying to be cool, but he knocks off my body cam. And they say, hey, Sarge, whoa, or Captain, he's with us. And he goes, oh, sorry. You see on the video, he wipes my shoulders. Sorry, pats me in. Sorry about that. Puts his arm around. Okay, it's over. We're just talking about how stressful it is. And I said, hey, go upstairs and get the guys in riot gear and bring them down here. Send this. It's time to go get it. He goes, what? I go, dude, there's a bunch of people in riot gear upstairs. He goes, there is? Yeah. He goes up. He comes back with one. And I'm like, I look at him, I'm all, what are you going to do with one? And he's like, I don't know, man. This is the best I can do. And I was like, something's not right. And so we're still trying to make it. And the blonde officer goes, hey, you want to get out of here? I said, no, man, there's people having heart attacks, and there's grandmas and grandkids and all kinds of stuff. And like, dude, this is just bad. I'm staying. And he goes, all right, man. So we just keep working together. I'm helping him. We open the doors. I'm like, man, I could push 5 people out, 4 people would come falling in. This went on for 55 minutes, brother. Finally, you hear upstairs, man, it's just footsteps. Goes. I'm like, uh-oh. Stormtroopers have arrived. I look at the officer. I'm like, I think it's time to go. And, man, they rounded the corner, and it was on like Donkey Kong. They released probably upwards of 1,000 rounds on us, close range. And I was covered. But, man, that officer friend that I was with, he was just getting beat. So I kind of gave him a little cover. I said, man, I'm super ready when you are. Boom, bust the doors. And I come out, and I mean, just all this kind of pepper's just coming off of me in the cloud, and I see a bunch of people I know, and everyone's like, come here, we got to get up. Well, the problem is I don't care. It doesn't bother me a bit. I can feel a little tickle, makes me want to giggle and cough, like a little but it doesn't affect me in the slightest. Like, dude, you got to get it off. You're going to get it in your face. I'm like, it doesn't bother me. Like, someone's trying to undress me. I was like, man, that sucks. So I went back and found the crew and told them what I had seen, and we went back to watch what's happening. Man, it was Stormtrooper Central. That was a total setup. It was an incitement. Where I was at, we weren't involved in beating on cops or nothing. I don't condone that at all by any means. But I'll tell you right now, that was a riot was incited on purpose, and I fell for the banana in the tailpipe.
I remember texting you that day. I'm like, don't go in, dude. It's a trick. And you're like, oh, it's too late now. I'm like, oh, geez. Oh, well, live and learn, right?
All my rowdy friends are Christians now.
Yeah. So tell me what happened when you got back to Idaho regarding this.
Yeah, so we were still living in San Diego.
Oh, San Diego.
And that was January 6th. I went across the border to Mexico into a cancer clinic down there to visit a patient, and it was early February. And I went to come across the border. And I'm pretty good at kind of figuring where people have been and who they are. And so there's a young kid, mid-20s, definitely a former Marine Corps, now he works for CBP, Border Patrol. I put my passport down on the scanner, and it goes, bing, and there's my picture in red on the screen. And he snaps, looks at me, and goes, don't move. And I was like, yeah, I'm not planning on it, man. And he grabs my passport, and he said, follow me. And so then I'm following for half a second, and then he's like, realizes he's supposed to be behind me. He's like, walk this way. And he walks me into this room that's glass on 2 sides, doors closed. And like, put your back up here. And so I slide my phone into my back pocket. And I think they said, put your phone down too. And I just probably didn't do what they said. And so I sat down and I watched 55 people say the same thing. So like, when I speak Spanish and stuff, so sometimes it was in Spanish. And they were like, "What's your reason for going to the United States?" And I got to go visit, my aunt, she's dying or whatever. "You don't have a driver's license?" "No." "You don't have an ID?" "No." "Okay, here's your temporary." I was like, wow, that's wild, man. And I'm like, what's the holdup? Like, when are we guys getting? The guys like, we're getting to you. Calm down, pipe down. Meanwhile, I'm texting Kim, holy smokes. It's not like Donkey Kong. I think I'm going to jail. This is it, man. They're holding me. And they held me for like 2.5 hours. And finally, I was getting loud, and I heard them, one officer say to another, he's like, "Why is that guy still here?" Like, look at it. Like, the white guy. Like, oh yeah, he's a text alert. They're like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, what's a text alert?" They're like, "Mind your own business." I was like, all right. So finally, this couple higher-ups come out, and they said, "Mr. Hansen, come with us, bring your bag." And so I just start going through my bag, asking me questions. I got brochures for the clinic I was at. I got medical files. I got a journal that's got medical notes in it. And I'm just explaining everything to them. I'm like, "Hey, there's a thing called HIPAA. You're not supposed to be in that." They went over, they scanned it, made copies of it. And they said, "So when did you come into Mexico?" I was like, "Earlier today." Like, "How'd you come in?" "Across the border." "Where'd you park?" "Over there." "Where's your car?" "Right where I left it." "What's your business in Mexico?" "I just told you." I'm pretty sure I'm getting grumpy. I'm like, "Dude, what's a text alert?" "Well, mind your own business." Dude, mind my own business. I just look at, man, am I in the United States or am I in Mexico? And one of the officers was like, "Oh, we're in between." And I was like, "There's no in between place. Obviously, I'm in the United States because you guys have U.S. outfits." I'm like, "Look, dude, at this point in time, get me an attorney or arrest me, do something." And they were like, "Why? Why would you want to do that?" I was like, "I don't know. Why would you?" And I was like, "You're pretty mouthy. You're pretty, you're acting, like a wise guy." So that time, the F word just started flowing. Like, "Just give me my crap. Let's go, or arrest me. But whatever we're doing, we're done doing." And he said, "All right, well, have a nice day." And I was like, "That's it?" And so then I called a CBP friend of mine, or it didn't answer, so I texted him. And I said, "Hey, what's a text alert?" And he's like, he was calling me. He's, "Stop, don't talk to me. Come see me tomorrow." I'm all, "Well, all right. Well, that sounds serious." And so I said, what is it?" He's like, "It's an old Treasury alert system. It's meant for like the RICO Act and for the cartel members and drugs and stuff like that. Biden's just re-upped it, and he's using it on everybody that was in the Capitol on J6. Were you there?" And I was like, oh, crap, Ola. And so that's when I knew I was in trouble, and they started messing with me on flights. Every time I try to catch a flight, it'd take about 45 minutes to get cleared to go to TSA. Like, I couldn't even get my ticket. And so I missed my first flight. Once I started learning it, I tried everything you're supposed to do. So I just started getting on social media and started just taunting the FBI, telling them, what pieces of turds they were and all that stuff, which was probably not real smart.
Not too wise.
I never said I was wise. Thought I was rowdy.
So when did they come and get your goodies?
3 years later, baby, because I'm a hot to trot. Yeah, top 10 most highest charges against me. They hit me up for that stupid thing that the Supreme Court said they couldn't. And we had a good sense that stuff was going on. We had there was a drone in our backyard, a big one, big drone in our backyard the night before. My phone's been clicking for a few days. Things just didn't seem right. So 8:30 in the morning, I go out to take off and drive by and I see a Fed vehicle and I go, man, we got the best Fed vehicles. Seriously, they're so scary looking. I said, man, I should take one and put some 19s on it, some 19 Steelies and some bigger wheels and stuff, and just really kind of make it a little more hot rodded. So as I'm driving by, I'm looking at the driver and the passenger. Their eyes get big as pancakes. One of them's got a rifle turned up, up to his chin, and I was with the butt up in his chin. I was like, oh, today's my day. I can't sing it. So they whip in behind, but there's a car in between. So. Because I'm rowdy. I said, I got an idea. I'm going to make it count. I'm going to make him work for it. So I punched it off the line. And I'm just, my brain's just screaming, don't do it. You're going to get killed. And I just hang a hard right unexpectedly, hit the brakes, lock them up, windows down, cars off, hands on the steering wheel. 5 different police cars come rolling around the corner. They're all trying not to run into each other. Helicopters just comes down.
Wow.
Real close. And they just said, driver, put your hands up. I'm all, you already are. They're like, are you Theo Hansen? I was like, don't yell it. Yeah. They're like, we're effecting a warrant stemming from the series of events that occurred on January 6th. Do you have a gun? Yeah. They're like, don't reach for it. Where's it at? I'm like, down by my feet. Well, we're going to pull you out of the car. I'm like, I'm seatbelted. Do what you want to do. And man, they were staying out of the mirrors and stuff, so I couldn't see him. But man, It was a hot spell. Drive her out, come back to the sound of my voice, get on your knees, the whole nine. And as soon as the officer touched me, he just was like, this ain't what we thought it was. But I did mouth off a bunch because when we lived in San Diego, remember we lived at the top of that mountain, and I gave a nice little tour. I said, FBI, if you want to come back, you better bring an army because I got all the angles. I'm high ground, you're low ground, and you're exposed every inch all the way. Come on down. Come early, come late. I don't care. But it's gonna, you better bring an army because it's gonna take that to take me. I don't know what I was thinking, so that got me a nice little hot stop. And the officers were great. Immediately, they just toned down, and it was super cool. I could tell my wife, come get the car. The officer moves it around the corner, puts the gun in the trunk, locks it, and takes the key. Kim's got her own key, so she comes and gets the car, and off to jail I go.
And you were in jail in San Diego?
By the time we were in Boise.
Oh, you were in Boise. Okay. And then while you were in jail, is that when they went to your house and took all your computers and stuff?
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to All My Rowdy Friends Are Christians Now, brought to you by TWO Publishing. Please take a couple of seconds to subscribe, like, and most importantly, share this podcast with your family and friends. It could be the start of their journey towards salvation and eternal joy. If you have any comments, feel free to share them. We would love to hear your feedback. May God bless you.
Yeah, they raided my house, man. The local sheriff that lives in my neighborhood was like, oh, great, what kind of criminals do we got?
Oh, brother.
And all the neighbors were like, shut up, this guy's cool, man. This ain't what you think it is. And so, yeah, they raided the house. They took every computer. They took all phones, every phone. And while I was arrested, I'm sitting there in jail, and the guys were super cool. They didn't leg cuff me, and I come into the station, and the sergeant's like, why doesn't he have leg cuffs on there? You got boots on. He's a big boy. He's like, he's cool. He's not getting he's like, put leg cuffs on. Come on, the feds are here. And so they're like, well, all right. So they get me in a room. Like, yeah, we're not doing that. Like, hey, you want a cup of coffee? And I was like, yeah, thanks, man. And I know that officers oftentimes play their friend, but up here in Idaho, it's a little different. So they were cool. And they brought me a coffee and moved my handcuffs around so I could drink it. And I drink the coffee, and in comes these two strippers. Man, Stripperella 1 and Stripperella 2, the perfume doll out there, clearly from San Diego. And they're like, hey, how are you doing, Theo? And I was like, doing great, man. They're like, really? Great. I'm like, yeah, man, love it. We're getting a chance to talk. Oh, so you want to talk to us? I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Love to, man. Love to share with you what I saw. Oh, it's great, man. Can you sign off here? Been read your rights? No, nobody read your rights. Where'd you get the coffee? I'm like, oh, we stopped at Starbucks on the way. I'm like, what? I'm like, dude, Starbucks doesn't sell coffee in a styrofoam cup. I obviously got it from here. Man, if you guys are with the FBI, I'm getting nervous. Like, okay, but go ahead. What are you charging me with? And they were like, oh, you have to see that before you'll talk to us? I was like, yeah, of course I do. They go out all upset. She comes back in. Mine's just a small room, and this perfume's overwhelming. And I'm just like, man, this is hysterical. And people are very different in Idaho. It's all different. You can tell they're not from here. So I read the charges, and I just put a big X through the release. And I thought about it, like, not going to talk to us. I said, if you think that guy on those papers and this guy in front of you are the same people, we got nothing to talk about. They're like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, didn't you watch the videos? They're like, well, what videos? I'm like, well, I don't know. Videos from the day, I don't know. Oh, so you admit you were in the Capitol? I was like, get me an attorney. And they said, well, if you give us the passwords to your computer and your phone, we won't have to confiscate them. Oh, sweet. Here you go. So I gave it to them. Liars. They took everything and they stormed the house, and they took anything and everything that they thought was related and kept it for a long time.
So you had a court date or court dates in Washington, D.C. after that?
Yeah. They process you. So I go to the local jail, then I go on to Secret Service has to see me. And then U.S. Marshal, I get processed by the Marshal's office, the feds, the local FBI fingerprints me and swabs me and gets the DNA and stuff. You can volunteer or we'll get a warrant. I didn't spit on anybody. Go for it, man. And they transport you back to holding. You stay at the sheriff's facility, and I get to spend my first night in jail.
Hi, everybody. It's Norm. Well, it seems like Theo's first night in jail is probably a good place to stop. Tune in 2 weeks. That will be the beginning of the next month, and we'll see how God steps in to both save and perhaps humble our rowdy friend Theo in the craziest way you could ever think of. I'll pray us out. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this crazy man's story and how it's all going to end up with a happy ending as you protect your family, in which we all are, thanks to your son Jesus, who brought us all back. In his name we pray. Amen.
All my rowdy friends are Christians now. A testimony podcast.